So we're here. It's time to criticize Justin's taste in video games because I'm sick of the way these guys bully me all the time.
Oh, we're the bullies?
Yeah. I'm just constantly picked on for my fantastic taste in video games. And so,
Terrible old man taste.
yeah, it is pretty old man taste though. So yeah, we've basically we've grabbed a video of Justin and we're now going to criticize his choices. So
We're going to do a reaction, if you will.
No, just criticize him. No react.
Oh yeah, no react. Nothing good. This is just under 5s out of 10.
Absolutely. All right. So yeah.
Hey guys, Justin here, and I'm going to be giving you my top 10 video games of all time. So number 1, Borderlands. Now, Borderlands was just different for its time. The whole pencil and pen sort of style sketch look to it.
Interesting.
The ridiculous amounts of weapons, the really cool enemies, and the very first song, Ain't No Rest for the Wicked,
Ain't No Rest,
became huge for Cage for the Elephant and was just very memorable. And that game was just in a league of its own for its time. So that was definitely one of my favorites.
Okay.
So what he wants to say is it hits different, but he's too much of an old man and he's not on the internet to say it.
Yeah. You just, it hits different. Now, I can see where he's coming from. I think the first Borderlands...
Of course you can, it was in your list.
Well, I had Borderlands 2, and there was a specific reason for that. Because the story was so much more prevalent in that game. Whereas Borderlands 1 was very much, you were a vault hunter, and you've got to go find the magic treasure. It's still sort of the same in all of them, but number 2 brought in the big bad guy that was trying to steal your thunder. And that made it totally different for me.
What happened to criticizing Justin? You just fucking justified his choice.
No, I didn't. Number 1 is the wrong choice. Number 2 is the correct choice.
All right. Well,
number 1...
I also hate that you guys didn't do this ranked. I'm going to do mine ranked.
So the hard part is though, like, I have more than 10 video games tattooed on me. Let alone finding a fucking definitive... I had to redo my list so many fucking times. It's not even funny. Like, doing it ranked is mental, especially like if you play more than 3 games. Like, I know yours is going to be Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue, some weird shit. Like,
I can't wait.
Mate.
What's he got
terrible.
for 2?
All right, let's see.
Next up, Tony Hawk's Underground.
Yes.
There's a lot of other Tony Hawk games out before this one, but I just seem to enjoy this one a little bit more. It was a little bit goofy. You could do some dumb shit like play as Benjamin Franklin. I'm pretty sure there was the Jackass crew in there as well, which is probably why I liked it a bit more than the rest. And there was just a whole bunch of dumb stuff, and it still didn't feel like it was too far out of, I don't know, the realm of possibilities most of the time. And it was just a fun goof.
So he's talking about the second game. He's talking about Underground 2.
He has to be. He has to be because Underground 1 didn't have the Jackass guys. I actually really liked Underground 1 and prefer it over 2.
No, I like 2. I like the whole story. Like you're going across places and it's like a prank wall and it ended in Skatopia, and as a skater, that was fucking sick.
Yeah, see, I liked the up-and-coming sick cunt skater story of Underground 1, where you're just like some nobody kid skating around your town. All of a sudden you get picked up, neck thing.
This was the same though. You were like a nobody and you get picked up to either be on Tony's team or Bam's team.
Yeah, but this is more like you're getting picked up to do a sponsorship vid and then it turns out that your mate backstabbed you and stole your shit. So... Again, he's on the right track, but he picked the wrong game. If he had said
Underground... He picked the right game, but he said the wrong game.
Yeah, exactly. What a top 10. The cunt can't even remember what game he's talking about.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Wait 1 sec.
Sure.
Better reply to the...
Yes, hello. Yep, that's my genitals.
Alright. Cool.
Alright, what's he got for number 3?
What else we got? We got Far Cry 2.
Oof.
So, first Far Cry, I wasn't a huge fan of that, but when Far Cry 2 came out, and the only part that I didn't really love was I don't love survival games all that much, so the malaria thing was kind of frustrating, having to take the tablets all the time. But apart from that, it was probably the first time I saw fire actually react like actual fire. So climbing up hillsides, catching onto other objects and things like that, that was impressive. The whole open world element and discovering little hidden items here and there, the whole thing just came off really, really neat. And they just built on that from there. But I think this one really was leaps and bounds.
Okay. So, again, he's on the right
Your dog
track,
has some words about this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's not even been alive long enough to know what Far Cry is. But, so, Far Cry 2 was a really fucking cool game for its time. But, like, that malaria thing just completely ruined the game for me. I never even got beyond, like, a quarter of the way through the game, because after getting malaria, it just annoyed the living shit out of me. Like,
I didn't really play it.
Okay, so basically you catch malaria, and malaria being malaria, you can't cure it, and it just randomly makes your vision go blurry.
Nah, fuck that. I'm not doing that. That sounds awful. Like, I get survival where it's like, make clothes, build this, gather this, you got infected with this, you can get past it, but you have to do this to do it. I'm not playing, like, health zapping stuff that will randomly fuck you up at the wrong time.
Yeah, well, that's the big thing I found, is that, like, you're in the middle of a gunfight, all of a sudden you can't see shit. Like, it was a cool setting, and very few games choose Africa as a setting. Oh, god damn it. Justin's trying to connect
him
now.
And said no.
Get out. We're recording your top 10, you grub.
Seriously.
What
the fuck out of here.
What the fuck?
Back in 5.
I messaged
fuck
you.
You guys.
Fuck off.
Fuck you guys. Charge away. Goodbye.
Perfect. All right. So,
ready?
So it was pretty cool, but again,
I wouldn't put it on a top 10.
No, I wouldn't put any Far Cry game in the top 10. They do some interesting stuff with graphics and story, but it's nothing that puts them head and shoulders above anything else.
I played Primal. That was a good time for like 5 seconds, and then I was OP and I was bored.
Yeah, I found the same thing. Anyway, let's move on and shit on something else he has to say.
So this one's a twofer. Threw in a little sneaky two-parter here, and that's The Last of Us Part 1 and 2. Or Last of Us 1 and 2, whatever you want to say it as. But I just see it as one nice, big, long game set in 2 video games, because the story just flows perfectly throughout. And you can't play number 2 without having played the first one and truly understanding it. Otherwise, there's really no point. So play them both and play them consecutively, and you are going to love that story. It's just fantastic.
That's like being like, what's your favorite Star Wars? And you're like, Skywalker series. You're like, cool.
Okay, so he has sort of Mass Effected us. Except, so I haven't played much of The Last of Us. I played the start of it and I was like, I really don't care for this. Granted, I probably didn't get far enough in it to get as involved as others. But I think other people may have hyped it up too much now, and if I went into it, I would ruin it for myself. In saying that, though, my understanding is that main protagonist of Game 1 dies at the end, and then...
The fucking spoiler strikes again. Yep.
If you haven't been spoiled by a game that's nearly it's over 10 years old, then too bad. But yeah. I haven't played it and I know this. But yeah, main guy dies, and then it's the girl that he's looking after for the whole first game that becomes the protagonist of the second game. that's not really like, yes, you're continuing the story, but like you said, that's like Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
You're continuing the story in the world, but that's not that one person's story. That's like me picking the Walking Dead Telltale games. Same premise. First season based on one character. Character one
You
dies.
mean the premise is we need something. Where is it? Oh, it's on the other side of the zombies. That was everything in The Walking Dead.
Okay, so
every episode.
The Telltale Games Walking Dead game is actually based on the comics, and it is
better.
The first 2 seasons are fucking impeccable, and I rate them highly. However, Last of Us, I can't say I ever played enough to.
No.
Nah.
For someone who already said he doesn't like survival games, that's like 2, and then
another shit choice by Justin. Disgusting.
What else we got? We got GoldenEye 007. This one's definitely just because as a kid, this was one of the first consoles that I owned, and this is probably one of the first games I spent my own money on buying, and just the playability of this game was ridiculous. Bringing your friends over, all hooking up controllers and just going to town, like that was just so much fun. And for its time and for its place, that was just a fantastic game.
All right, no one can pick on that without having the internet just fucking drill them. I'm going to say nostalgia bias is like heavy.
100%. Like I think what he said at the end is the most accurate, right?
Yes.
Is that for the time, it was amazing because it was one of the first FPSs, modern FPSs, at least that hit console, and that worked properly. Like, a lot of them were fucking awful when they tried. Rare did an amazing job with what they had.
Yep.
But if people go back and play it now, it looks like all the bums. And
it's just flat grey screens with a hand.
Yeah, and it looked like it plays awfully. Like that controller was not designed for an FPS.
No.
But I gotta say, you know, being at a mate's house, slappers only, you know, I got to drop respect on that because, you know.
Yeah, I got it. It has a place on a list of anyone's top 10 for sure.
Yeah, I can't. This is the first one that I'm not gonna thoroughly shit on. Just say that it didn't age well, but I totally see where he's coming from.
Shadow of Colossus. So that's the PS2 title from about 2005-ish, and it was awesome. Climbing on top of huge, ridiculous-sized monsters and finding weak spots. Fantastic. And the scenery around you was simple, but done well enough that you really enjoyed that as well. There wasn't too much in between going to the next big boss, but it was enough to keep you very satisfied and very happy with that game. It won't take you very long to finish, but you will enjoy every minute of that game.
It's like it reminds me of God of War.
It's basically like all the like epic, I say epic fights, but like the times that you're climbing those like Goliath, Titans, I think they were in God of War. But yeah, when you're climbing those things, it's much like that, but that's like what every fight is in that game. And I didn't personally play it, but I've seen lots of footage of it. People have spoken about it. I looked up the stuff about the remaster. I'm just not a big console person, and as far as I'm aware, it's not on PC. If it is, please, someone in the comments, let me know, because I would get right amongst that. I'm all for that, personally.
Yeah, I feel like I'd like to play it. I enjoyed God of War, but I also got bored of it at a moment. Like,
I think the part that I get sick of with God of War is that it was so uniquely targeted at angsty teenage boys that just wanted to be some badass dude.
Yeah.
He was basically, you know, the next generation Duke Nukem.
Yeah.
Like,
100%. Yeah.
He was just
that storyline was brutal, and they just kept fucking it up. Like, he's covered in the ash of his dead family. That's why he's white. Holy fuck. That's and then they just like shit on it with a bunch of useless stuff, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah, and then they did the whole fucking anime arc thing where, you know, start of every game, you've lost your powers.
Oh, every time. It annoyed me so much because But the voice of him was great. Like, all of that was good. They just would shit on it in annoying ways to make it. They like flogged the franchise. That's what they did.
And that's probably where Justin's pretty validated in this, because as far as I'm aware, Shadow of the Colossus is one game and it's had a remaster, and that's it. So, you know, I'm all amongst that. And like my current addiction to FromSoft games, and loving the giant enemies but hating the camera that they use for it.
The camera's balls. Yeah, okay.
If there's a camera that works for giant enemies in a game, fucking sign me up. I can't really criticize this too much.
Yeah, I'll give him this one.
All right.
Mafia.
Yeah.
So one that was already picked by someone else in Basement Discourse, but I can't go past Mafia for its just storytelling ability. It was Grand Theft Auto, but it was Grand Theft Auto in the 30s with the greatest soundtrack ever. The cars were just awesome. They handled like shit, which was great. Kept things interesting. But the story's where it's at. Like, it was like you're inside of a movie for hours on end. And the finale of that and the carry through to Mafia 2, and those who have played it will know what I mean, it was just awesome. So unforgettable for me as a kid, sort of realizing that a video game can be more than just steal a car and shoot people, aka GTA. So
yeah, I mean, we already reacted to it in your list. Crime games don't do it for me, but I mean, this one's got such a good rep. I think it probably just deserves a spot on the top 10, and I want to rip on him for it, but I won't.
Yeah, like, it's in my list. I'm legally obliged to agree with him. Yeah. But
there's evidence to say.
Yeah, I can't shit on him because, you know, there's counter to that.
He's done this on purpose.
100%. He's just gone through and he's like, I'll list some games that Jace likes, and that'll cover my bases. But I definitely recommend you pick this up because it works more like a piece of cinema than just a generic crime story. Because, like, your main character doesn't even want to be in the Mafia. He even gets offered near the start and refuses to join. And things happen that sort of force his hand, but it's all a logical, sensible progression, and the way the whole story is told, it's so worth playing. And then, like Justin said at the end of the game actually ties in to the sequel. They never planned to make a sequel, but it actually ended up tying into it later on.
Okay.
And, chef's kiss. So I highly, highly recommend that you pick up the definitive edition, give it a try.
I'll look into it for sure. All right, what else is it? Yeah, all the time I have.
Next one was probably one of my earliest memories of a video game, and this is definitely the first video game I finished 100% and many, many, many times over.
Finished a game?
And this is Streets of Rage.
Fuck,
this was an
Streets of Rage.
awesome 2D game in the Sega Mega Drive world, and I'm not sure if it got big or not, but it was just a fun game. You could play as 3 different guys, you could play 1-on-2 player, and it was just a side-scroller fighter beat-em-up thing, and at the end of every level you'd fight a boss, and it just got harder and harder until right at the end it just got nuts. But it was so much fun. So if you've never played that, get your hands on the original Streets of Rage, 1991-ish. Don't go for anything else. Just straight for the original.
I was literally 1 year old.
Don't worry, I was 2. But Streets of Rage was a huge arcade hit, so that's for Justin's knowledge. It was also a brilliant fucking game and one of the best beat-em-ups of all time. I'm not the biggest fan of beat-em-ups, but I do remember playing it on I think it must have been Sega Mega Drive at home with friends and stuff. It was so much fun.
I mean, maybe the rest of this list will be different for me, but I always find Justin so surprising for what he likes versus what you would profile him to like. It's like doing the anime recommendations for him. We're like this, and this, and he's like, nah. And then he finds some shit on his own that you're like, that's so generic. and it's so not Justin, he won't enjoy it. Like, he's a storytelling DM, and then he's like, this thing is fucking awesome. And you're like, really? And it's the same with his game. Like, I would expect as a DM, he'd be super into some sort of strategic-based game. And he's like, nah, beat him up.
There is strategy in a beat 'em up, though. There is.
It's different, though.
Yeah. But also, he's riding the nostalgia high here.
Yeah, he is. It's like 3 or 4 of 90s games so far.
Yeah. Well, no, Mafia was technically 2000s. It was like 2003.
Developed in the 90s.
It might have been. Anyway, let's move on.
So probably not a surprise here because of, well, D&D. That's Divinity Original Sin 2. I am yet to finish this game and I still love it so much. And it's not just because it's basically D&D inside of a video game. It's just everything about it. You can bump into a random NPC and all of a sudden 5 hours later, you've just been through a journey with this random. And it will happen time and time again. And if you pay enough attention to this game, you will get a lot more out of it. You'll just find yourself in random encounters everywhere. And it's just awesome.
Well, I'll just go eat my hat somewhere.
Sorry?
I'll just go eat my hat somewhere.
yeah, you just walked bumhole first into that one, didn't you?
Yeah.
But I have not played Divinity Original Sin.
I got nothing on that one. Yeah.
I have it on my wish list, and I'm pretty sure I played the original Divinity, and I thought it was balls. But that could be because the original Divinity is much older, and I wasn't heaps deep into D&D like I am now. So
yeah,
I can't really criticize it a whole lot right now, but I just think that Justin's bald and weird.
That's fair.
Yeah. I say we move on.
And my last one is Witcher 3.
Oh.
This one was a little bit hard to nail down. I was a bit stuck and I was just tossing up between a few different RPGs. But The Witcher just did it right. And by Witcher 3, they really had sorted out any strange kinks or glitches or issues with any of the other games. They've really sort of just smoothed it out to be a perfect game. It's got your monster elements, it's got your storytelling elements, it's got Gwent, which I friggin' love.
That's it.
It's just got everything you'd want inside of an RPG world. And if you pay enough attention to the lore of the monsters and things, you can get a one-up by, adhering poisons and things to your blades and stuff like that as well, which I never paid enough attention to be honest. But it does give you a one-up. So there are ways to strategize inside of the game as well if you're that sort of a player. So I think that was a really good one for number 10.
So he just made you eat your hat twice in a row.
He did. He
but
dang. I'll just go fuck myself somewhere.
I think I've got to go back to my earlier point. He's picked the right series but the wrong game.
No, Witcher 3 is definitely the winning one.
Witcher 3 is my least liked of all of them.
I liked it way more, but Gwent I started to enjoy and then just hated on it halfway through.
Nah, I fucking hated it from the beginning.
There was too much luck with Gwent and it pissed me off, and I was like, why would anyone play this minigame? Like Final Fantasy X Blitzball, I got stuck in that for an outrageous amount of time, like recruiting players.
A terrible human. But then again, I did play the card game in fucking Final Fantasy VIII, so
of course you did.
I'm not absolved completely of terrible mini games, but I think the I don't know. See, The Witcher 3, I've actually stopped playing. I didn't finish it. I just got to a point where I was just like, I'm not enjoying this. I found the difficulty curve sort of changed too much. Like one section, I'm in one area and I can literally murder everything with my eyes closed. And then I take a step over a fence and I get murdered by one wolf.
The level scaling in that game was slightly strange. It didn't seem to really define the boundary of where you should and shouldn't be, which I love, because I'm a fucking masochist when I play games, but it didn't make a lot of sense. Like sometimes you do a mission and then you do what seemed like the next mission, turns out no, you were supposed to do that a lot later.
Yeah, like there's one part that definitely sticks out to me as one point that just really annoyed me, where I was going, like I'm chasing after Yennefer, like early on when you're trying to track her down, and you go past this like abandoned little village thing, and like a wraith comes out of a well, I think it is. And at that point I'm like, well, it's literally on the path to the next bit, so surely just get out my silver sword and fuck that shit. Yeah, no, you just get fucking dominated.
I remember that one. I think I kind of did like a shitty cheat with like standing behind walls and throwing shit, because I was like, why is this so hard? Like, this is dumb. Yeah.
Whereas The Witcher 2 had a lot of difficulty. Like, it was like Souls-like as far as fucking difficulty goes, but it was far more linear. So you sort of understood the growth of difficulty. So even though it was hard the whole way through, you knew what to expect and it sort of scaled appropriately. Whereas I've really struggled with The Witcher 3, and that's why I eventually put it down. So as far as I'm concerned, right series, wrong game.
To summarize, Justin, not necessarily got the worst taste in the world, but he just can't pick shit right. And sometimes he doesn't know which fucking one he's talking about.
What a fucking moron.
I'm so glad we have this recorded.
I know, right? And I love that he has no idea.
Well, awesome. I'm so excited to have my choices roasted. I'm not sure I have anything on the list that you guys had, so that'll be great.
Yeah, well, Justin saved his bacon with Mafia, but...
Yeah, he deliberately picked shit on your list.
Yeah, he totally used me as a template. But anyway, that's about it. That's Justin's top 10, so keep an eye out for when Justin and I get to shit on Brady's.
Yay.
So, that's it. That's my 10. Thanks, guys.